welcome back. In this video, I'm going to show you how to make this fall zinnia wreath. Now, I know this video is a bit on the long side, but I'll show you how to make the wreath and the center, okay? And there's a lot of steps, so this video is kind of long. But anyway, this petal fold was created by my friend Julie of Julie's Wreath Boutique. So myself, Julie, and Michelle from A Noble Touch all decided, hey, let's all do Julie's zinnia wreath, and we're going to be using different size wreath frames and different materials to give you a good idea of just how many different things you can make using the same petal fold and get different outcomes. So anyway, I'm going to put links to their videos in the description box down below, and I'll also pin a comment. So after you get done watching this video, please head on over there and check them out. All right, y'all, let us get started. First off, what you're going to need, one of these 14-inch wire wreath frames. This one came from Dollar Tree, but you can find them pretty much at Walmart or any craft store has them. You're also going to need a sheet of this plastic canvas. Y'all remember plastic canvas from back in the day? But anyway, this came from Joann's, as you can see, and it is the 10.5-inch by 13.5-inch size sheet, and this is a 7 mesh. Now, that number refers to the size of the squares. If you can find the 5 mesh, use that, because that means that these squares are going to be bigger. The most commonly used sizes, though, are 7 and 14. 14 mesh has tiny holes. The 7 mesh will do just fine for this. But anyway, what you're going to do with your wreath frame is you're going to just lay it down on your canvas, and then I took a marker or a felt tip pen, whatever, and I just traced around the inside and cut out a circle. Okay, and then I used these tiny little 4-inch zip ties here. Got those at Walmart. I just used those and attached it to the inside of the frame. Okay, so now what we're going to do is let's start working with our mesh. Now, for all of my supplies, look down in the description box and I'll tell you where I get everything and how much I'm going to use and how much you need to use, okay? Because there are 2 places where I get my mesh. 2 really good places where I get my mesh, okay? So you're going to need, this here is the 10-inch by 10 yards. I'm going to be using 2 orange, 1 green, and then I have 1 brown, which I think I left it in the living room because that's how my brain works today. I've only had like 5 cups of coffee and yeah, I need more. But anyway, I have 1 roll of brown. So you're going to need 2 orange, 1 green, 1 brown. And if you want to keep track of all of your supplies, yes, I'm going to shamelessly promote myself here. My Wreath Designer's Workbook that I created and is available for sale on Amazon, where you can keep track of all of your designs and all of your materials used on Amazon. I have many different designs you can check out in the description box, and I'll pin a comment with the link to that. But anyway, what you're going to do is attach your mesh, or you can wait and do that after you get your petals on up here, whichever you want to do. Attach the mesh, and then we're going to, the plastic canvas, and then we're going to start cutting our mesh. Now, y'all know that I usually cut my mesh using scissors, but the way that we are going to cut it today is a method that was devised by my good friend Michelle that I mentioned earlier. So go check out Michelle and subscribe as sort of a thank you for coming up with this awesome method. We're going to be using a wood burner, okay? Now, using English, what is it? Using a wood burner sort of seals the edges to prevent raveling, okay? Now, you can use scissors if you want to, but the trick with this is you need to make sure that you cut it straight. And I did a video on this a couple years ago showing you how to cut burlap so it doesn't fray. But if you can see here, you see like the little lines that run down like this? You need to cut right here, right between them, all the way down. That's going to keep it straight so that it doesn't ravel if you don't have a wood burner. You know, use your rotary cutter or your scissors. You just want to keep it as straight as possible. But anyway, I'm going to get my cutting mat and everything so that we can cut our mesh. Alrighty, so I have my cutting mat here. It's underneath this glass cutting board. And now we're going to take our wood burner and cut our mesh. Now, Julie uses these tips here, this chisel tip that goes in the wood burner, and then Michelle uses the stencil tip. You can use whichever one. I'm using the stencil tip for this video. But anyway, you're going to take your mesh, and we are going to cut it at 10 inches, See, our 10 inches right there. Remember how I told you a while ago to keep your cuts in between the two little lines, okay? That's really going to go a long way in helping it to not fray. So anyway, we're just going to cut it straight. And the deco mesh, you know, kind of likes to move around and not hold perfectly still like other materials do. So just be very mindful of where you're cutting. See? And now we have our square. So now what we're going to do is we're going to grab us a zip tie here, and you're going to take your square and turn it this way, and take the two opposite corners and fold them together just like so. I know this looks wonky, but it's a square, believe me. And fold it just like so, and then you're going to gather it in the middle, and now we have something that looks like a wayward bow tie, okay? Like that. Take your zip tie and just wrap it around the middle. I'm going to tighten that down like so. And now I'm just going to take these wire cutters and trim that. All right, so let's get our wreath frame here. And I'm going to take my zip tie and I'm going to go ahead and put it on. So we see this line here. You're going to come up to this line over here at this crossbar. And I'm going to put on my zip tie, see, like so. And now take your petal. Now this is the part that you cut off, okay? This is the little nubby. The little nubby needs to be on the inside. You don't want your nubbies hanging out. Take this corner and just put them together like so. See, now the smooth part of your zip tie is showing. Now I'll take my thumb and go whoop. And then grab it down here, and that makes your petal. Now, if you see that your zip tie is showing more on one side than the other, you want the side that you can't see the zip tie showing frontwards, if that makes any sense. See, I've got my petal just like so, and now we're just going to stick it in there, and then we're going to tighten it down. Okay, that is petal number 1. Now, if you want to, you can go ahead and take your zip ties and go ahead and put them all over your frame, make your petals, and then, you know, just put them in. That's what I do. So what I'm doing here is I'm putting 1 petal on each crossbar, and then I'm putting 4 petals in between. So what I would do is just load this up with all of these little zip ties like so, all the way around, and then put on my petals. Okay, so like I said, that was petal number 1, and then you're going to have 4, 1, 4, 1. Okay, so let's work all the way around, and then we'll come back and do the next row. Okay, so we have all of the petals put on the outer ring here, and don't worry if they flop forward or whatever, or they aren't standing up perfectly straight. Once you get your other petals on here, everything is going to fall into place, and then you can go back when you're done and fluff up your petals, and it'll all look good. Don't worry about it. But now what we're going to do is we're going to start on another row here, and the way that I determined where to put my petals is just take them and go ahead and make your little petal doohickey like we did before. And I just kind of placed it on the canvas here just to see kind of where it would lay. And I was like, okay, I think that looks good right there. So then I took the little 4-inch zip ties, and as you can see, I put it in going from left to right, not up and down, going sideways, okay, because we're going to put our petal down in there. See how I have that there? And it's going to make your life easier if you go ahead and fasten your zip tie. Don't tighten it down, just fasten it. And then we can put our petal, if I get the ends correct, we can just go ahead and put our petal down in there and then pull it through like so. And say, okay, where do I want this? That looks good. And then just tighten it down. And then you can go back and cut this, and then use your scissors and cut off the tail of your mesh. Now, I don't know exactly how many petals I'm going to use on this go round, but once I get them all on there, of course, I'll tell you how many I used. But anyway, just make another row of petals all the way around, and then we'll come back and do another one. Okay, so I'm done with the second row here, and I used 20 petals on this row, okay? And I know this isn't the greatest angle, but you know what? This is the part we're concentrating on, so that's really all we need to see. But anyway, now I'm going to be using, let me get it, this dark brown mesh. It's sort of a chocolate color. Actually, I think that was the name of it, chocolate. But anyway, like I said, look in the description box, and I'll tell you where I got my mesh. But anyway, we're going to take our center here. Now, I'm going to show you how to make this center here in a little bit, don't worry. And I want to make sure that when I put the brown mesh on, that my center is going to cover it, and it is, okay? Now, why am I doing the dark brown? Because, as you can see, the center had a bit of orange in it. And I want to make sure that there was some sort of a transition color to sort of block off this orange from the center. I think it makes it more pronounced, you know? So we're going to take this, and then let me get a zip tie right quick, one of the itty bitty ones. And now let's put this here and see about where I want it. That looks good. So I'm just going to hold it there, and then I'm going to take the zip tie and let's put it right about there. Okay. And then we're going to do the same thing that we've been doing. We're just going to take it and bring it up and a hole beside of it, like so. And then we're just going to make our loop. Okay, now let's fold our petal again. There we go. Just take our little pointy end and just go right through there. So we're doing the same thing with this row that we did with all of the other rows. We're just going to go all the way around. Okay? So let me do that, and then I'll tell you how many of these petals I used. Then we're going to do some leaves and attach the center. Okay, so I did 17 of the dark brown petals. And so now what we're going to do is we're going to put on leaves. And while I'm doing that, let's check out this jewelry. How cute is that? This is paparazzi. It's only $5 each. If you look in the description box, there will be a link that says paparazzi. Click that and then click shop. So here we have our green mesh, and this is cut the same size. This is a 10-inch square. And what we're going to do is fold it in the exact same way that we've been folding our other petals, and we're just going to gather it like so. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this and I'm going to fold it up like this, and I like the little edges that are curving in. I think I want that to face towards the back, I think. So I'm going to take it, you see these crossbars here? I'm going to place the leaves on the crossbars. Let's see, do I want that in front? I think I do. So I'm going to put those there, and I'm going to be putting 6 of these leaves around on each one of the crossbars. So let me get my zippy tie here. Let's see. You know what? Let's just go around this first. And let me get this locked into place. Hold still, little thingy. Okay, it's on there. And so I'm going to take this, and like I said, I think I want it to go in front of the crossbar like so. And I'm just going to snug it down, and then we're going to tighten up our zip tie. And then trim off the excess. Okay, so I'm going to do one of these on each crossbar. So that'll be 6. Okay, we're going to make the center, and for that I have this styrofoam ball. It is the smooth foam kind. It's not the rough type of styrofoam, like, you know, with all the pits in it. It's the smooth foam, size 6. It is a 5.6-inch ball. But anyway, as you can see here, it has this seam all the way around it where they compress the 2 sides together. I also have this old craft knife. I use this for all sorts of stuff. Look, it's got glue and resin and epoxy and stuff all over it. Anyway, it's okay. What I like to do is take something, now this is just a mechanical pencil, let's put the lead in there. But as you can see around this line here, what I like to do is take something and just kind of trace around it. Sort of like making a type of a guideline, I guess you can say. So it kind of like goes into the foam. Because sometimes when you first start out cutting your foam, your knife, you know, might go off course. Because these little seams, see how it's kind of raised up there? Whenever I cut foam balls in half, I always just kind of make my little guide mark all the way around, maybe about half of it, and then I start to cut it. And that kind of helps me to get started, you know? I mean, you don't have to do this step, but it's just what has helped me out in the past. Then anyway, you're going to take your knife and kind of just go down in that little groove that we just made, because we're groovy. Not a whole lot of pressure, because if you put a whole lot of pressure, sometimes you're going to crack these things. And then these cost a lot of money, okay? I think they cost a lot of money. So just be careful as you're cutting. And you're just going to work your way on that little line there until you cut it all the way through. So I'm going to work on this and we'll come back. Okay, so this is cut in half, and you know, you can buy these in this shape already if you can find them. Now, I know where I live, these are really hard to find, you know, in the half spheres, so that's why I just buy mine and just cut them in half. But anyway, now I have some of this absolutely beautiful fall fabric. This came from Joann's. Look at that. The leaves, and it's got a sheen to it. Oh, it's so pretty. But anyway, we are going to be just cutting a piece to cover this. And I know I'm going to be cutting it bigger than what I actually need. I like doing that with any type of project, really, that I'm not actually following a pattern. So I'm just going to cut out this shape here. That will be plenty, like so. All right, now let's throw that over there. Now what we're going to be using is some Mod Podge. This is just regular Mod Podge. It doesn't matter if you use the matte or the glossy. Camera cut off. But what you're going to do is you're just going to take a paintbrush here, and I'm just going to paint it all over this sphere. Half sphere. I'm going to call it a sphere, okay? I'm calling it a sphere. Just paint it everywhere. Yeah, I'm getting it all over the table. But you know what? It doesn't matter. That's why I like to use contact paper on my table, because it holds all these little messes, and you know, you can just like that. Somebody asked me the other day why I cover my table in contact paper all the time. I was like, well, this is why. I'm a messy crafter. I don't care if I'm neat or not. You don't have to be neat. So we're just going to paint that all over, and then we're going to start to place our fabric. So let's get that on there. That looks like a good amount. Let's lay our brush over to the side. Okay, now you're going to take your fabric and kind of get it in the center. Now this takes a minute, okay? No, I don't wash, dry, and iron my fabric before I start this. What's the point? The Mod Podge is wet. Now this came from a previous video, okay? Somebody's like, why don't you iron your fabric before you start? Why would I do that? Because the Mod Podge is going to pull out any wrinkles anyway. So, you know, don't make more work for yourself. And I'm just taking my finger, and yeah, the Mod Podge is going to come through your fabric. And you know what? That is absolutely fine, because we're going to be putting a coat of Mod Podge on top of it anyway when we're done. Okay, so we're just going to just keep smoothing it down, smoothing it down. Now, as you get down towards the bottom, you may notice that your fabric will overlap a little bit. It will wrinkle a little bit, and that's okay. Because when we get down here, I'll show you how you can cut some little notches in your fabric to help it lay flat. So just smoothing it down. All right, so I'm going to keep working on this, just smoothing it down all the way around. And then when I come back, we'll see what we need to do, if we need to cut notches in it to make it lay flat, and how we're going to put another coat of Mod Podge on top. Okay, I've got a lot of this smoothed down, and you see how we're getting wrinkles here? That's okay, don't worry about it. You're just going to take your scissors. You know, like when you're sewing, and you're sewing a round object, or you know, the hems, things like that, and how you cut your fabric like this, you know, you put the little notches in it. Same principle. Just going to cut the little notches around, and what that's going to do is that will help your fabric to lay down flatter. And then I'm just going to keep doing what I was doing. Just kind of pulling the fabric out and just smoothing it down, smoothing it down. You put fondant on a cake, same principle. Because y'all know I like to decorate cakes. Anyway, we're just going to keep smoothing this down, smoothing it down until it looks the way we want it. Just pulling the fabric. Yes, it's a messy process, but if you've done this before, you know it looks good when you're done. So anyway, I'm just going to keep doing that. And then we'll come back and we're going to put on another coat of Mod Podge. Okay, so this is looking pretty good. Let me show you what I do when I'm working with Mod Podge and I got it all over my hands. It's everywhere. You know what? I might go in there and freak out my kids here in a minute and act like my skin's coming off or something. Why? Because I'm that kind of mom. Anyway, I have a baby wipe here. And when I'm like using the same brush, you can do this for paint too. And if you don't want to stick it like in a cup of water, because then you're going to water down whatever you're working with, I just lay it on a baby wipe and then just kind of fold it over. It keeps it from drying out. Okay. So anyway, now we're just going to take more Mod Podge and then we're going to just brush it over. As you can see, like one of my cuts here, it's like, you know, I cut all the way up here. And sometimes you have to do that, you know, sometimes you have to cut pretty far up, which, you know, when you're doing stuff like that, and I think I said this in my fabric ornament video, when you're doing things like this, sometimes the pattern of the fabric makes a big difference, you know, in how the final product looks. Because, you know, like I did cut this in some places up pretty high. Let's get some more right there. I did cut it up pretty high. And if you have like faces or, you know, animals or something on your fabric, then that's going to be affected by these cuts. Now, this fabric is kind of busy. Okay, so you're really not going to notice it that much. And then, you know, we're going to decorate it up here in a little bit. And once you get it on there and really smoothed out, I don't think you're going to really be able to notice the cuts I made at all. And if you do, it's okay. If somebody comes up to your door and sticks their face up on your wreath and says, hey, there's a cut right there, you know what? Just open the door real hard and hit them in the nose or something. Because you don't need to be in my house. Anyway, on the bottom, I'm going to show you the bottom. I should have showed you the bottom to begin with. Once you have your fabric like tucked around, okay, you can see like these little pins. I do have it pinned in place for the bottom layer of Mod Podge to dry. It just kind of helps hold it, you know, so that it's not sliding around everywhere. And then I just hold the little excess fabric down here so I can hold it up and show y'all what I'm doing. All right, y'all, I am very happy with how this is turning out so far. Now, there are still just a few little specks of white here. When your Mod Podge is white like that, it just means that it hasn't dried completely. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go around it with this gold trim. Now, I got this at Joann's over in the ribbon section, you know, where they have, you know, the trims and notions and things like that. This was $5 a yard, but it's okay. I didn't mind paying the $5 a yard because I think it's beautiful. Anyway, I'm just going to cut off the little taped end here and try to work quickly. I'm going to be gluing this all the way around the edge, and I'm going to use some hot glue to do that. A little bit right there. This is a problem with working with the big group. Sometimes it wants to come apart on you, but it's okay. Just hold it down like this. And then when we get back around, I'll be trimming up this end, okay? It's not going to be frayed. I'm not going to leave it frayed like that. So anyway, now we're just going to put the hot glue all the way around the edge. And this is a fall wreath. You know, I'm not too worried about the sun melting the hot glue. But if you have those concerns, then you can also back it up with a little bit of E6000. So I'm just going to finish going around here. This is going to take me a minute because I'm just holding the sections here, letting that glue set up. Okay, and I'm going to work myself all the way around. All right, so I am really happy with how this is looking so far, and the end here doesn't look too bad. I will trim that up a little bit later once the glue has all set up and the Mod Podge has set up. But anyway, now I have this button, this big, beautiful gold button, and I got this at Joann's as well. Can you tell I went on a Joann's run? So anyway, the way that I'm going to attach this is we're going to find the center of our little doohickey here. I just have a pin, and let's find the center. That looks good to me. Okay, and then I'm going to take a knife and I'm just going to go straight down in the center, just a little bit. Now let's turn it. Let's go down in the center one more time. Why am I doing that? So that I can fit the button down in it. So let's just press that down in there. Ooh, that's looking good. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the E6000. Ah! I always put Vaseline or chapstick or something around the threads here. That'll stop it from sticking, the lid. And I'm just going to put a little bit around the button like this, and that's going to help to really hold it in place. And then we're going to carefully just snap it down in that little hole that we made. All right, and now we're going to set this aside to let it dry. Like that. Set it aside to let it dry, and then we're going to put a back on it and put it on our wreath. Okie dokie, so this is what we have. And you know what? I think I'm going to leave these little pins in there, I think. You know what would be better, you know, if you had like the just regular, you know, straight pins would be better, but the little pearl head ones, that's all I have. And you know what, this wreath is going on my door, so it doesn't really matter. But anyway, now what I'm going to do is let's cover this back with some felt. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut just 2 little holes right here. You see what I'm doing? 2 little holes there, and I don't know, let's go up here, cut another 2 little holes. Why am I doing this? Because I'm getting ready to put some pipe cleaners in there. All right, so now this is the way I'm going to do it. We're going to stick pipe cleaners through there, and where'd the other hole go? I've lost it. I never had it. Anyway. And what are these pipe cleaners going to do? Well, they're going to hold our center onto our plastic canvas. That's what they're going to do. And where did the other hole go? Right there. Just run these through there. And now we're just going to glue this onto the back of this. Just get that like so. And now I'm going to take the hot glue and I'm just going to put a circle around. I'm trying to work quickly so this doesn't cool down. Make sure you really get the edges here, because you don't want your you don't want it to pop off. Like I said, if you want to, if you're concerned about the heat where you live, I don't know how hot it is where you live, if you're concerned about that, just put you some E6000 on here too, okay? Okie dokie. So now we're just going to take that and lay it right on top and press it down, and see, it is all nice and covered. And then I'll go back and make sure that the edges are glued down. But you know, now we have covered up all the ugliness. We've covered up the ugliness. There's enough ugliness in the world. We got to do something to cover it up. Now we're just going to let this set up. Let the glue completely cool down so we don't pull our felt off, and we're going to attach it. Okay, so now we have our pipe cleaners in the back, and we're just going to twist those around and around to secure them. And then we're just going to trim them down. All right, now for a backing, I don't put backs on my wreaths, but if you want to, you can put felt. And I'm not talking about the little flimsy sheets of felt that you can get in the craft store. I'm talking about when you go over to the fabric section, and you know, the thick felt, the nice thick felt that's on the bolts that you can get cut by the yard. You can get that kind. Let me turn off my wood burner thing here. Okay, you can get that kind, or you can get one of those big round placemats like from Dollar Tree. I think Walmart has them every now and again. You can poke holes around the edge, put that on the back, and then use some zip ties to fasten it around, and it'll cover all of this. Okay, so that's how you can cover the back for a fairly inexpensive way. All right, so now I've trimmed this off. This is done. I'm going to go get a good photo of it for y'all, and I hope you enjoyed it. If you would, give this video a thumbs up. Click subscribe. Check me out on other forms of social media, the links to all of which will be in the description box down below. And I hope to see y'all next time. Bye!